The selection. The plasma glass windows of Habitat Section C7 glinted in the binary sunset of Proxima Centauri. Inside, 16-year-old Ilara Reed stared at the holographic display hovering above her workstation, her fingers dancing through the projection as she manipulated complex xenobiological equations. She brushed a strand of copper hair from her face, too absorbed in her work to notice her father entering the room. "Ilara, dinner's ready," James Reed said, leaning against the doorframe. When she didn't respond, he sighed. "The algae loaf is getting cold, if that's even possible." Ilara finally looked up, her green eyes refocusing on the present. "5 more minutes, Dad. I'm almost done mapping the neural pathways of the Sauritian hover lizard. Their brains process gravity waves as sensory input." Her father smiled despite himself. Most teenagers in Terra Nova Colony concerned themselves with recreation in the zero-G dome or the latest entertainment feeds from Earth. Not Ilara. From the moment she could read, she had been fascinated by the alien life forms that shared their corner of the galaxy. The colony director called. James said, his expression growing serious. "There's been a request. For you specifically." Ilara saved her work with a swipe of her hand. "From the research division?" "No. From the Galactic Council delegation that arrived yesterday." The Council rarely interacted with humans. Earth had only been granted provisional membership 5 years ago, after nearly a century of probationary contact. Terra Nova, humanity's first extrasolar colony, was merely a footnote in galactic politics. "What do they want with me?" Ilara asked, standing to follow her father into their modest dining area. Her mother, Dr. Shenwei, was already seated at the table, her usually composed face lined with worry. "We don't know exactly," she said, spooning synthetic protein onto 3 plates. Director Okafor was deliberately vague. "We're to bring you to Central Administration tomorrow at 800. Later that night, as her parents slept, Ilara couldn't quiet her mind. She slipped out of bed and padded to the Habitat's observation bubble, a small transparent dome where residents could view the alien landscape. The rocky terrain of Proxima stretched before her, illuminated by the red glow of its parent star. In the distance, strange tubular formations created by the native fungal colonies reached toward the sky like grasping fingers. Ilara pressed her palm against the plasma glass. 5 years on this world, and it still felt both alien and like home simultaneously. Whatever the Council wanted, she would face it with the same curiosity that had carried her across the stars. The Council chamber had been temporarily established in what normally served as the colony's main assembly hall. 5 representatives from different species sat along a curved table. In the center was Ambassador Zivran of the Tellurians, bipedal reptilians with iridescent scales who had founded the Council millennia ago. To his right sat a Volux, a methane-breathing entity contained in a hovering environmental suit. On his left was a Noor, whose crystalline body refracted light in hypnotic patterns. Ilara stood before them, flanked by her parents and Director Okafor. She fought the urge to fidget under their alien gazes. "Ilara Reed," Ambassador Zivran said, his translator converting the series of clicks and hisses into English. "Your educational records and neural scans have come to our attention." "My neural scans." Ilara glanced at her mother, who looked equally confused. "Standard medical protocols include sharing anonymized data with Council medical databases," the Noor explained, her voice like wind chimes. "Your patterns are unique." The Volux leaned forward, the lights on its suit pulsing. "In all our surveys of your species, we have not encountered neural architecture like yours. You process information differently than your peers." Ilara had always known she was different. Her school had created special learning programs for her when she tested beyond their curriculum at age 9. But hearing that she was unique among all surveyed humans was unsettling. "What does this have to do with my daughter?" James Reed asked, placing a protective hand on Ilara's shoulder. Ambassador Zivran's secondary eyelids blinked slowly. "Every 50 cycles, the Council conducts what we call the Trial of Tal Khan. Each member species selects a representative to participate. Participate in what? Director Okafor interjected. A sacred ritual, the Nor answered. An encounter with one of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful entities. The Beast of Solitude. The Volux added, its translator giving the words an ominous tone. What your mythology might call a dragon or leviathan. Ilara felt her heart rate accelerate. You want me to meet some kind of alien monster? Exalcon is more than a beast, Ambassador Zivran explained. It is a living repository of knowledge, a creature whose existence predates spacefaring civilization. The trial is not combat, but communion. And what happens during this communion? Dr. Shen demanded, her scientific skepticism evident. The council members exchanged glances. Each encounter is unique, the Nor said carefully. Some representatives return with insights that advance their species' understanding of the universe. Others return changed in ways we cannot predict. And some don't return at all, James stated flatly, reading between the lines. The silence that followed confirmed his suspicion. This is absurd, Dr. Shen said, her voice rising. She's 16 years old. You can't possibly expect us to allow our child to face some dangerous alien creature. The choice belongs to Ilara, Ambassador Zivran said, fixing his 4 eyes on the girl. Her participation would bring humanity great honor. The Council would accelerate Earth's full membership by decades. Your colony would receive technological concessions normally reserved for founding species. Director Okafor looked torn between horror and calculation. The benefits to humanity would be substantial, but at what cost? Why me? Ilara asked quietly, her analytical mind already working through the implications. The beast responds to certain mental frequencies, the Volux explained. Your neural architecture suggests compatibility, greater than any human we have scanned. And if I refuse? Then we select another, Ambassador Zivran said, though none would have your potential for success. Success being defined as survival, James asked bitterly. Success being defined as genuine communion, the Nor corrected. The beast does not seek to harm. It seeks understanding. Ilara closed her eyes briefly, processing everything she'd heard. How long do I have to decide? The alignment of sacred stars occurs in 14 of your days, Ambassador Zivran answered. We depart in 10. We need to discuss this privately, Dr. Shen said firmly, gathering Ilara close. Of course. Director Okafor nodded. I'll escort you home. As they left the chamber, Ilara could feel the alien's eyes following her, a mixture of hope and expectation that weighed more heavily than gravity. The next week passed in a blur of arguments, tears, and research. Ilara's parents adamantly opposed her participation, and initially, she agreed with them. But the more she learned about the trial of Salcon, the more her curiosity grew. In the colony archives, she found references to similar rituals across multiple species mythologies, tales of chosen ones sent to commune with ancient beings. The descriptions varied, but the themes were consistent: knowledge, transformation, and the bridge between mortal and cosmic understanding. On the 7th night after the Council's request, Ilara sat with her parents in their small living area. I want to do it, she said quietly, ending the tense silence that had permeated their home for days. Ilara? No, her father's voice cracked. We can't lose you. You taught me that knowledge is worth pursuing, she countered, turning to her mother. That understanding other life forms is the greatest calling a scientist can have. Not at the risk of your life, Dr. Shen replied. There are boundaries to exploration. If humans had always believed that, we'd never have left Earth, Ilara said. We'd never have built this colony. This is different, her father insisted. Is it? Ilara pulled up research notes on her tablet. The Volux representative, Mevtar. His species joined the council after their representative successfully communed with Salcon. Before that, they were isolated on their methane world, feared and misunderstood. So this is about proving humanity's worth. her mother asked. "It's about understanding," Ilara said. "Whatever this creature is, it's ancient and intelligent. The knowledge it possesses could change everything for us." Her parents exchanged pained looks, recognizing the determination in their daughter's eyes. The same look that had appeared when she'd first announced her intention to specialize in xenobiology, or when she'd mastered 3 alien languages by age 12 simply because she wanted to read untranslated texts. "If we forbid this, you'll never forgive us," James realized aloud. "I would understand," Ilara said, though they all knew it wasn't a complete truth. Dr. Shen took her daughter's hands. "The council said the beast responds to certain mental frequencies. If you feel anything at all, that suggests danger, you withdraw immediately. Promise me." Ilara squeezed her mother's hands. "I promise." 3 days later, Ilara boarded the council vessel Eternal Seeker, a massive ship that resembled a crystalline nautilus. Her parents stood at the docking bay, faces brave, but eyes red-rimmed. Director Okafor and a small delegation of colony officials were present to mark the historic moment, the first human to participate in the trial of Tal Khan. Ambassador Ziv Ran led Ilara through corridors of living metal that seemed to pulse with their own rhythm. Other representatives from the trial were already aboard, 26 beings from across the galaxy, each selected for their unique mental attributes. "Your quarters," the ambassador said, gesturing to a doorway that slid open at their approach. Inside was a space customized for human physiology, though the aesthetic was distinctly alien: curved surfaces and bioluminescent lighting. "When will I learn more about Tal Khan?" Ilara asked. "About what exactly I'm supposed to do during this trial?" "Tomorrow begins the preparation," Ziv Ran replied. "For now, rest. The journey to the sacred space takes 5 of your days." After the ambassador left, Ilara sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly feeling very young and very far from home. She removed a small object from her pocket, a smooth stone her father had given her, taken from the shores of Lake Michigan on Earth before their departure. A piece of humanity's homeworld to carry with her into an experience no human had ever faced. "I hope you're worth it," she whispered, unsure if she was addressing Tal Khan or herself. The ship hummed around her as it accelerated away from Proxima Centauri, carrying her toward a destiny that would either elevate humanity's standing in the galaxy or consume her entirely. The encounter. The Eternal Seeker emerged from fold space near a binary neutron star system, invisible to the naked eye, but detected by the ship's sophisticated sensors. Ilara stood at the observation deck, watching as the vessel approached what appeared to be empty space. Only when they drew closer did she see it, a massive structure suspended in the void, absorbing all light that touched it. "The Maw," explained Kerix, a Centaurian representative with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors with his emotions. Over the past 5 days, he had become something of a mentor to Ilara, having survived the trial of Tal Khan 50 years earlier. The ancient gateway to Tal Khan's domain. "It looks like a black hole," Ilara observed, squinting at the perfect darkness. "Not quite. The Maw exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. What we perceive is merely its shadow in our reality." As the Eternal Seeker drew nearer, Ilara felt a strange pressure in her mind. Not painful, but insistent, like someone knocking on a door. She pressed her palm against her temple. Kerix's skin shifted to a concerned blue. "You feel it already. Most cannot sense Tal Khan's presence until we dock." "Is that what it is?" "It feels like mathematics. Complex equations just beyond my understanding. Each species experiences the preliminal contact differently," Kerix said. "For my kind, it manifested as color patterns we could not name. The fact that you perceive it as mathematics is interesting." The council representatives had spent the journey preparing the chosen participants through meditation, historical briefings, and mental exercises designed to strengthen their minds against the overwhelming presence of Tal Khan. Ilara had learned that the trial was not merely a test of individual worth, but a crucial renewal of the pact between the Council and the ancient entity, a relationship that predated written history. Will it hurt? She asked Carix, voicing the fear she had kept buried since leaving Terra Nova. The Centaurian's skin rippled with patterns of gold and silver. Communion with Xalkan is beyond physical sensation. It does not seek to harm, only to know. To be known in return. Alarms suddenly sounded throughout the ship. Ilara gripped the railing as the vessel shuddered. What's happening? We've entered the outer boundary of Xalkan's domain, Carix explained. The laws of physics become negotiable here. The observation deck's viewports dimmed automatically as a burst of radiation washed over the ship. When they cleared again, Ilara gasped. The starfield had changed entirely. Constellations she had never seen stretched across the void, and in the distance, galaxies spiraled in impossible formations. We are no longer in the space you know, Carix said quietly. We have crossed the threshold. The preparation chamber was a vast circular room at the heart of the council structure built within the maw. 27 alcoves lined the walls, one for each participant. Inside her alcove, Ilara changed into the ceremonial garment provided. A simple robe woven from material that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states, adapting perfectly to her body. Ambassador Ziv Ran entered the chamber, accompanied by a procession of council elders. The alignment approaches, he announced. Each of you will enter the communion chamber alone, in the order determined by the sacred algorithms. Ilara felt the knocking sensation in her mind grow stronger. Equations flashed across her consciousness. Prime number sequences, Fibonacci spirals, patterns that seemed to describe the very fabric of existence. The first participant was called, a Medusan whose body resembled living mercury. She entered the central doorway, which sealed behind her. Minutes passed, then hours. Some participants returned quickly, dazed and silent. Others remained in communion longer. 3 did not return at all. What happens to those who don't come back? Ilara whispered to Carix, who stood in the alcove beside hers. Some believe they become part of Xalkan, he replied. Others say they merely choose to remain in communion eternally. Neither option seemed particularly comforting. As the hours passed, the pressure in Ilara's mind intensified. The equations became more complex, more insistent. By the time her name was called, she could barely focus on the physical world around her. Ilara Reed of Terra Nova, Earth, intoned the council elder. Approach the threshold. Her legs moved automatically, carrying her toward the central doorway. Behind her, she heard Carix whisper, "Remember who you are." The door slid open, revealing not a chamber, but a void. Endless darkness punctuated by distant, impossible stars. Ilara stepped forward, and the ground beneath her feet disappeared. She fell, or perhaps flew, through nothingness. Time lost meaning. The equations in her mind expanded exponentially, unfolding into dimensions of thought she had never imagined possible. Just as terror threatened to overwhelm her, everything stopped. Ilara found herself standing on what appeared to be a platform of obsidian glass, stretching infinitely in all directions. Above her, around her, below her. Everywhere she looked, stars and galaxies swirled in patterns that somehow matched the equations in her mind. "Hello," she called, her voice seeming to travel nowhere and everywhere simultaneously. Human. The word wasn't spoken but rather felt, a concept impressed directly into her consciousness with such force that she staggered. "So long since your kind last stood before me." Ilara frowned. "Last stood? You've met humans before. Before your records, before your civilization, when your kind first reached beyond your CRDL." This contradicted everything she knew about human history. Spacefaring technology was barely a century old for humanity. Time is fluid here. I have imaged your past and your future. A shape began to coalesce before her, massive beyond comprehension, shifting between states of matter and energy. At times it resembled a dragon from Earth mythology, at others a living constellation, and sometimes nothing she could describe with human language. This was Exal Khan, the beast of solitude, ancient beyond reckoning. You bring Questions, Elarari Reid. All bring Questions. Yes, she managed, gathering her courage. What are you? Why does the council send representatives to you? I am Guardian, and Geiki Pierre. I stand between Orielites. The council is my dominion. The creature, if something so vast could be called a creature, shifted closer. Ilara felt microscopic before its presence, yet somehow not afraid. The equations in her mind had quieted, replaced by a strange sense of familiarity. Your mind is different. You see the patterns, the equations. Yes, since we approached the maw. Not equations. The entail of reality. Most species evolve to P or CEIV log way. CERV is survival. Humans seek pay earnings. Beyond ni CESSITI. Curiosity beyond the UNC Twian. Around them, the starfield shifted, forming complex spirals that somehow Ilara understood were representations of different species' neural architectures. One burned brighter than the others. Human minds, she realized, somehow more chaotic yet more connected than the others. You who are not me int to evolve so koitskili. Something changed your pate. With this statement came a flood of images, primitive humans looking up at the stars, then a flash of light, a visit, knowledge imparted too soon. Ilara saw ancient structures on Earth that shouldn't have been possible with the technology of their time. We were influenced, she asked, stunned by the implication. By whom? By those who disrepeat the balance. I correct the timey line, but is rari mene ain't. Your kind forgot the ESTARs for a time, yet the EPATER and PERSISTED in your minds. The beast shifted again, and suddenly Ilara was surrounded by what looked like a vast library, shelves extending infinitely in all directions, filled not with books but with swirling energy patterns.